All right, diving in again. This time it's Life in the Labyrinth. Listeners wanted to explore this book's take on uh, macro dimensions, shamanism, reality itself. Pretty intense stuff, right?
Definitely not light reading.
No kidding. We've really dug into some dense ideas to bring out the most interesting, thought-provoking parts.
It's definitely unique. This book really isn't like your typical intro to shamanism. It uses shamanism as a way to navigate this multidimensional maze, the labyrinth, basically,
Yeah.
and throws in some pretty wild twists, too.
Yeah, that labyrinth idea hooked me right away. Like, it's described as this hidden structure made of living electrical force, all woven into reality all around us, but most of us are totally oblivious. What struck you first about that concept?
I think the book's comparison of us to rats in a maze is really powerful. We're just bumping around, not seeing the bigger picture. So focused on our immediate surroundings that we miss this larger reality that we're actually part of. Makes you wonder how much we could be missing.
That analogy really hits home. And then the book takes it even further, saying what we think is the outside world is actually a holographic projection created by our brains.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most challenging ideas in the book. The idea that what we perceive as the external world might just be a reflection of our own minds. It's unsettling,
Hmm.
but it also suggests that we have the potential to, you know, change our reality by changing our perception.
That leads us to maze brightness, the term they use for seeing the labyrinth directly. Seems like a pretty crucial skill if you're trying to navigate this hidden reality.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where shamanism comes in. The book describes it as kind of an art and a science for developing this maze brightness, for learning to actually see and travel through these hidden dimensions.
Okay, so about those hidden dimensions, these macro dimensions are spaces beyond our normal perception. They're described as almost otherworldly, filled with unique moods, smells, textures, things we just don't experience in everyday life. What makes them so unique?
They're completely unlike anything in our normal experience. The book describes them as having a totally different set of rules and possibilities. And shamanic techniques like invocation and shape-shifting are used to access and travel through these macro dimensions.
Shape-shifting, I'll be honest, my mind went straight to werewolves and vampires. Is that what we're talking about here?
Not quite. Shape-shifting in this context is about expanding or contracting your awareness to fit into different dimensional spaces. It's not about physically changing your form, but it's about shifting your perception to resonate with the frequencies of these other realms.
So it's more about adjusting your perception to match the specific macro dimension you're trying to access. The book really emphasizes the importance of attention, almost like attention is the key to unlocking this whole labyrinth. Why is attention so critical in this framework?
Well, attention is like the foundation for everything in this book. It's the energy source that powers our ability to perceive and interact with the labyrinth. There's this quote that really stuck with me. All phenomena is illusion. Neither attracted nor repelled, not making any sudden moves, my habits will carry me through.
That's a powerful quote. It sounds like a mantra for navigating this labyrinth. How do you interpret that quote within the context of the book?
Well, it suggests that by becoming aware of our habitual patterns of attention, our habits, basically, and by learning to direct our attention with intention, we can consciously shape how we experience reality. It's a call to be mindful, to really pay attention to where our attention goes and how that shapes our reality.
So we're not just passive observers in this labyrinth, we're active participants. And our attention is our most important tool. And it all seems to tie back to this idea of the essential self, the part of us capable of true perception and transformation. What exactly is the essential self in this context?
The essential self is like the core of who we are. The part that's not bound by our limited perceptions and ego. It's the part that can truly perceive the labyrinth and undergo profound transformation through that experience. It's not just about what we see, but about who we become in the process of exploring this labyrinth.
Like the journey itself shapes us, changes us. Speaking of challenging concepts, the book also describes the creation as a dead lover of the absolute, existing in a state of sleep. What does that even mean?
This is where things start to get really, really intriguing.
Yeah.
The book uses this metaphor to talk about the potential within the creation. It's like a seed that hasn't sprouted yet.
I'm definitely curious to unpack that metaphor a bit more. So we have this dead lover metaphor, and we also have this idea of the absolute. Can you explain the relationship between those two concepts a bit more?
So the absolute represents the source of life, but the creation needs to be awakened to fulfill its potential. The absolute is like pure potentiality, while the creation is the manifestation of that potentiality.
So the absolute is like the seed and the creation is the flower waiting to bloom.
Exactly. And the book introduces this practice called prayer absolute, which is about bringing life to the creation.
From what I've read, it doesn't sound like your typical prayer.
This is where the book gets really intense. Prayer absolute involves confronting the horror of the creation's current state, its lifelessness.
Confronting the horror, I have to admit, that sounds pretty daunting.
It's about recognizing the potential for life that exists within the creation and using our attention, even our emotional energy, to spark that life.
So it's about actively participating in the process of creation rather than just passively observing it.
Exactly. Prayer absolute is about recognizing the power we have to shape reality and using that power to awaken the creation. It's a call to action, a challenge to step into our roles as kind of co-creators with the absolute.
That's a pretty empowering concept. Speaking of taking action, the book also describes this group experiment where they tried to invoke the simur, a mythical bird that symbolizes the absolute. What was the purpose of this experiment, and what did they learn from it?
That's a fascinating account.
Yeah.
The book calls it the Simurg experiment, and it really dives into the transformative potential of group work.
So what happened in this experiment, and what does it tell us about the concepts we've been discussing?
Well, the participants used shamanic techniques and focused their collective attention on invoking the Simurg. And their experiences were pretty profound. They reported altered perceptions, heightened emotions, and even a sense of the Simurg's presence.
They actually felt the presence of this mythical bird. What did that experience reveal?
They did. And the book analyzes this experiment through, its core teachings. It links the experience to the ideas of shape-shifting, collective consciousness, and the transformative potential of group work. It suggests that by working together, we can amplify our power to perceive and interact with Labyrinth.
So it's not just about individual exploration, it's about collective evolution, too.
Exactly. The Simurg experiment suggests that group work can unlock new levels of awareness and create a more powerful connection to the absolute.
We've only scratched the surface of life in the labyrinth, and I'm already feeling like my mind is expanding. We've covered a lot in this first part, from the concept of the labyrinth to the importance of attention, the idea of macro dimensions, the nature of the absolute and the creation, and even a glimpse into this Simurg experiment.
And that's just the beginning. There's so much more to explore in this book.
This has been a great introduction to some of the key ideas in Life in the Labyrinth, and I'm excited to continue our exploration. Stick with us for the next part of our deep dive, where we'll go even deeper into these fascinating concepts.
What I found fascinating about that Simurg experiment was it wasn't just about summoning a mythical creature. It was about how focused, collective intention might actually shift reality, maybe even connect us with higher forces.
So it's like they were acting as a channel for the Absolute's energy, focusing it into the creation. If that's the case, why would the Absolute even need us? I mean, it's the source of everything.
Right, that's where things get really, really interesting. The book, it proposes the Absolute is also in a kind of sleep state, almost trapped by its own immensity. It's self-aware, but needs us to help it connect with, to experience the creation more fully. Does that make sense?
It's a mind-bending idea, that's for sure. This infinite being somehow limited. But it does speak to how everything might be interconnected, even the absolute needing us to complete the creation cycle. So how do we as humans even begin to do that? Wake up the absolute, I mean.
The book suggests it happens through our experiences within the labyrinth itself. By navigating those macro dimensions, facing our fears and limits, mastering our attention, we're not just changing ourselves, but also kind of feeding back into the absolute.
It's like we're explorers mapping unknown territory, and those maps then help the absolute understand its own creation better.
That's a great way to put it. And remember shape-shifting. Not literally changing our bodies, but how the book talks about adapting our awareness to different dimensional spaces.
Right. It's like learning the language of the labyrinth.
Yeah.
Adjusting our frequencies to resonate with each chamber.
Precisely. That's where shamanic techniques come in, Things like invocation and working with energy. They're tools to shift our perception, to expand our consciousness, to take in more of reality. The book also keeps mentioning first water. Did that term stand out to you at all?
It did, and I'll admit, I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. Sounded almost like some magical potion or something.
Think of first water as concentrated attention. It's not a literal substance. But that focused energy we can cultivate through shamanic practice, it's crucial for navigating the labyrinth effectively.
So not a potion, but a state of being. Heightened awareness you use to work with the labyrinth's energies. That makes sense. Then there are those keys the book mentions. Seemingly small things that can unlock, like hidden passages.
The keys are all about perspective, about recognizing interconnectedness. It could be a sound, an image, a memory, anything that makes you shift your viewpoint, see the world anew.
Like those aha moments where suddenly everything clicks into place. The more maze brightness we develop, the more we can recognize and use those keys.
Exactly. And speaking of powerful concepts, we need to talk about prayer absolute, which the book describes as a way to infuse life into the creation itself.
I remember being struck by that idea, but how do we actually do that? What does bringing life into the creation even look like?
Prayer absolute isn't about begging a deity for something. It's about active participation in creation. The book describes it as confronting the horror of the creation's apparent lifelessness, seeing the potential for life within what seems inert, and using our intention, even our emotions, to spark that life.
That sounds incredibly intense, like an act of love on a cosmic scale.
It's interesting. The book actually uses the metaphor of making love to a dead lover, trying to awaken them with your passion. It's about pouring your heart and soul into the creation, willing it to come alive.
Wow. That's quite an image. It's not just observing the labyrinth, but trying to transform it, to actively engage with it.
And that transformation, that infusing of life, is what then feeds back into the absolute, helping it awaken more fully. It's like a two-way relationship. We help the absolute awaken, and it helps us evolve, expand our consciousness.
But there's a danger here too, right? The book talks about traps within the labyrinth, the risk of getting lost or seduced by illusions. What advice does the book offer for dealing with these traps?
That's a key question. How to navigate the labyrinth's dangers, avoid getting lost. This is where the Voyager's quatrain comes in, a set of guidelines for safe and effective exploration. Do you recall what it emphasizes?
I remember it being a powerful set of guidelines. Could you refresh our memory on the specifics of the Voyager's quatrain?
Of course. It's a reminder to stay grounded, to avoid getting caught up in the distractions and illusions. It reminds us that all phenomena is illusion.
Right, so we need to detach from appearances, see through that surface level of perception.
Exactly. It also cautions us against making any sudden moves. This is about staying present, flowing with the energies of the labyrinth, not forcing things.
It reminds me of like the wisdom of the Tao, going with the flow, trusting the natural order of things. But how do we do that when faced with so many distractions and potential pitfalls?
That's where the last line of the quatrain comes in. My habits will carry me through. It's about recognizing the power of our ingrained patterns and using them to our advantage. And this part really made me think about, the habits I've developed and how they might be impacting my journey.
So we need to be mindful of our habits, cultivate those that support our exploration, and shed those that hold us back. It's about aligning our habits with our intentions, becoming more aware of how our actions shape our reality.
Exactly. The Voyager's quatrain is a powerful tool for safe and effective navigation. The more we understand these guidelines, the more skillfully we can navigate the labyrinth and avoid its pitfalls.
This is a lot to take in, but it's already shifting my perspective. It's like I'm starting to see the world with new eyes. What has been the most impactful part of this book for you so far?
For me, it's been the emphasis on the interconnectedness of everything. We're not separate from the absolute or the creation, but integral parts of this vast interconnected web of being.
That interconnectedness is a theme that keeps coming up, and it's incredibly powerful. It makes you feel like you're part of something much bigger than yourself. What are you most looking forward to exploring further in the next part of our deep dive?
I'm really intrigued by the book's discussion of chambers within the labyrinth and how each one requires us to adapt our awareness, to shape-shift our perception, to fit the environment.
Me too. It's like traveling to different worlds, each with its own set of rules and challenges. And I'm also curious to learn more about the totem and how it can help us access those different levels of awareness.
Excellent point. The totem is a powerful symbol, and I'm looking forward to diving deeper into its meaning and how it can guide us on our journey through the labyrinth.
Our listeners are in for a treat. We're about to delve into some even more mind-bending concepts in the next part of our deep dive. Okay. So, we've been unpacking some seriously deep ideas from Life in the Labyrinth, the nature of reality, the power of attention, our potential role in, awakening the creation. But the journey isn't over yet, is it?
Not even close.
Yeah.
There's still so much to explore. One thing that really hit me was how the labyrinth itself isn't just some static structure. It's dynamic. It's constantly changing, responding to our attention.
So it's like a living, breathing entity that we're constantly interacting with, and that interaction shapes how we experience reality. That makes it sound much more, well, active than just navigating a maze.
Exactly. And within this living labyrinth, the book describes these chambers. Each one has its own unique qualities, like mood, aroma, even texture, they say.
It's like traveling to different worlds, each with its own rules and challenges. We have to adapt to survive.
That makes me think of the totem that the book keeps mentioning. It sounded almost like a map of different ways of being, like outfits we can wear to navigate different parts of the labyrinth.
That's a great analogy. The totem represents the spectrum of potential within us, the different ways we can experience and interact with the labyrinth. It's like a ladder. Each rung is a different level of awareness, a different morphology we can embody.
So we can climb this totem, expanding our consciousness, accessing higher dimensions. What does that process even look like, and what kind of challenges might we face along the way?
It's described as both challenging and rewarding. It involves confronting our limitations, shedding old identities, and embracing new possibilities. It's not always comfortable, but it's through those challenges that we grow and evolve. But even when we do manage to reach those higher levels, there's that rebound effect the book talks about. Our tendency to fall back into old habits, old perceptions. It feels like we're constantly battling gravity, trying to stay elevated.
Oh, the rebound effect is real.
Huh.
It's like gravity, pulling us back to those familiar but limited ways of being. The book stresses how important it is to develop new habits, to consciously cultivate patterns of attention that support our exploration. It's about building those maze brightness muscles so we're strong enough to resist the pull of the familiar.
It's a continual process of refinement, of training our minds to see and interact with the world in a new way. It reminds me of how the book emphasizes unlearning as a prerequisite for relearning, letting go of our old ways of seeing so we can embrace new perspectives.
Unlearning is absolutely essential. It's like emptying the cup so you can fill it with fresh knowledge, new ways of being. Approaching the labyrinth with what Zen calls a beginner's mind, openness, curiosity, a willingness to be surprised.
That beginner's mind lets us experience the labyrinth without the baggage of our preconceived notions and judgments. It's about seeing things as they truly are, without filtering them through our limited perspectives. And speaking of perception, the book talks about the importance of sensing as a way to navigate. It's not just seeing or thinking, but like feeling our way through the dimensions.
Sensing is key. It's about tuning into those subtle energies, the vibrations, the underlying patterns, connecting everything, like we're developing a sixth sense, a deeper intuition that guides us through the labyrinth.
This whole exploration of life in the labyrinth has been, well, mind-blowing. It feels like I've been given a new set of lenses to view the world through.
That's the power of this book, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just a collection of ideas. It's an invitation to a journey of self-discovery, to explore those hidden dimensions within ourselves and the universe.
And that journey doesn't end when we close the book. It continues with every step, every breath, every moment of our lives.
Absolutely. The labyrinth is all around us, waiting to be explored. And the Voyager's quatrain is that constant reminder, those principles guiding our exploration. All phenomena is illusion, neither attracted nor repelled. Not making any sudden moves, my habits will carry me through.
Those words are really starting to resonate with me. It's like a compass guiding us through the twists and turns of the labyrinth.
And as we continue exploring, we'll discover even deeper meanings within them. They're not just rules, but a doorway to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe.
Well, listeners, we hope this deep dive into life in the labyrinth has sparked your curiosity, challenged your perceptions, maybe even inspired you to start your own exploration of those hidden dimensions.
Remember, the labyrinth is within you as much as it is around you. The journey begins with a single step, a single act of attention, a single choice to awaken to the wonders that lie hidden beneath the surface of everyday reality.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the mysteries of life.
Safe travels, fellow Labyrinth Voyagers.